We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes beyond the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo, where I'm joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Bird, Charity, aka Blazy Gardner, and Bridget, ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster. That's PONKYBRUISETER.
So we're doing the Squawking 7 top favorite fear moments. Your favorite moment, what part do you like to watch over and over again? What made you stand up and cheer on Fear the Walking Dead?
Along with our own, but mostly ours.
My list is going to be so controversial.
You know what? You could be here and be part of this recording right now and be putting your answers in the comments with us that we could read out right now if you were here. And it's so easy to do. Dave, how do they do that?
You do that by heading over to either ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or Patreon. Damn, I got very violent there. Or Patreon.com.
Game show right now.
Or Patreon.com/squawkingdead. You don't have to buy us coffee or join a membership tier. Just follow for free because that's where we post our recording schedules. We don't post them on social media for a reason. Lollygaggers coming in and disrupting our podcast recordings. Instead, we have no one.
Just I would rather someone be here interrupting us.
I mean, I'm sure most of you know mine are going to be pretty John and June heavy. I do have some other ones. I do. But it was hard. It was hard. But I am going to start, since this is Dave's first time with us, I'm going to start with Dave and his number 7.
Dave.
This is the part where I make something completely up.
He doesn't have a list.
You didn't prepare a list.
He doesn't have one.
I didn't have a list.
Dave's like, I want to join you guys, but I'm not going to prepare in any way, shape, or form.
He's the peanut gallery.
You know what? So let me make it official. So to be fair with all of you, I did not make up a list, but I will randomly select an episode that made me stand up and cheer during our discussions, as well as try to lend color commentary. And one that stood out to me, I geeked out a little bit when Morgan suggested to John and Alicia, mostly Alicia, that they might go to Alexandria on season 4, episode 7?
9.
9.
409.
It was a 409. Because after that was Close Your Eyes, right? 410?
Yes.
When that happened, I was like, what? It could happen? What? Even though they said it wouldn't? Oh. And so I thought that was a pretty cool moment. And obviously, I want to mix that with Close Your Eyes because that's a cheap way out of making it a little harder for me later on when you call out in my number 6. But Close Your Eyes was a phenomenal episode. I can never rave about it enough. Bottle episode. And I can get behind people who say it's a little hokey, but there was so much really, really good symbolism, and it was about a struggle of trying to find the value of life, and I really dug it. It was a really good episode between Charlie and Alicia.
Okay, let me consult my list because I did prepare myself for this. So, I mean, I didn't pick like a whole episode. My number 7 moment, I don't even know.
Shade.
Wow.
So much shade. Look at Shot A up in here. That's how much shade is being thrown right now.
Let me get the umbrella out.
So much shade going on. It's like the light is getting dimmer.
I missed you, Dave.
I missed me too.
I don't even know if I have like a great explanation for this. I just remember how I felt when this happened. When Strand called himself Morgan, he introduced himself to Howard as Morgan Jones. And I just was like, oh,
right, it was season 6, like episode 16.
Yes,
the season finale.
616.
Was it the finale? I couldn't remember if it was the finale or the one before it. And then like 5 minutes later, he's like, I'm Victor Strand. And I was like, well, that lasted a long time.
In that hoarse voice, I'm Victor Strand.
Right. He was Morgan Jones for all of like 10 minutes.
He can never decline himself. He's too fabulous to say that he's anybody but Victor Strand.
It said a lot about him in that moment, though, too, didn't it?
I think it did.
Like he didn't want to be him anymore.
It's also on my list.
It's not on my list, but this is a good one.
The laugh alone.
Yes.
My number 7, I'm sure, ranked much lower on mine than you ladies. June killing Jenny.
That's on my list somewhere.
Yeah, I figured
did that show up on your list?
Yeah, Ginny was the worst, so it was pretty great. It just was satisfying. I just hated her so much. I was like, oh, thank God, someone finally killed her. Finally.
I'm so happy all the time that COVID caused the split of season 6 where it did.
Right.
Because I feel like I would have had a very difficult time caring so much about the show if I'd had to wait 6 months after watching John die until I got the justice. So I'm so glad that the season got messed up in the sense that it ended on 7. We didn't have to wait between John dying and June killing Jenny. It happened the next episode. It was very cathartic for me. I'll get to that. It's not as high on my list as most of you would probably assume.
Well, I knew Sharon had all the June moments covered, so honestly, June didn't even show up on my list. I knew you got him covered.
Controversial list indeed. Okay.
I told you. People are going to take issue with my list.
My list is like yours when we did the favorite Walking Dead episodes, and yours were all Carol and Daryl.
So this is another moment
mine are
of
all going to be June and John. I do have a couple that are not June and John. I have one that's going to surprise everybody, to be honest.
And Dr. Stephen Edwards is on my list because he wanted to kill Carol. Right? So that was the only reason why he was on your list.
Oh, it's the only reason he'd be on anybody's list. It's the only thing he was known for.
Right. Well, on that note of June killing Jenny, I agree and love that moment only because it was so shocking. Mm-hmm. That pop, I didn't see it coming really because June is June, and I didn't think she would go that far. But I didn't like it because we had to say goodbye to Jenny, and I happened to like, even though she was annoying, liked seeing her on screen. I like Colby Minifie.
You like Colby.
Well, isn't that why we were all like, oh, but Jenny's not too bad?
So Colby's great. She really, I feel like, chewed the scenery a lot of the time as Jenny.
She was amazing.
Yeah, she plays villain very well. God, I was so over Jenny. I was like, come on, man, we got to move past. This story's got to keep going, okay? Like, let's go. I grew up on Buffy, okay? One big bad a season. So let's move on.
There can only be one Ginger. Anyway.
My number 7 is the wrestling sequence in 705 Till Death, because it is so much fun.
Wait, which number is this for you?
That's my number 7.
That's my number 6.
I'm not a wrestling person or anything, so that wasn't why I liked it. But it was funny and it was cute, and I love the music that they chose to go behind it. Christine jumping through the ropes and spinning around and stabbing the walker was awesome. I know a lot of people complained about season 7 overall, but 7, the first half was not so bad, and 705 was one I really enjoyed.
If you saw the unedited episode, you could catch some of those complaints.
We had a few comments.
Can I segue into mine now, since it's the same?
Yeah. Keep the conversation going.
I didn't grow up on wrestling like my husband did. Like, my husband watched wrestling from the time he was like a little boy. I'm talking like old wrestling, Hacksaw, Jim Duggan, and stuff like that. I got into wrestling in the late 90s, so at the pinnacle, just beautiful part of just bad wrestling, and just so cheesy storylines, but so awesome. The Attitude Era.
Great wrestling, bad acting.
Right? Yeah, the Attitude Era. Yeah. For some reason, I got back into it in my 20s. And even now, still, Travis and I will watch wrestling on occasion. Now, he's a really big wrestling fan, so we watch old wrestling matches and color commentary on old wrestling matches. That's what we watch a lot of. There's a lot of great YouTube channels for that, so we watch a lot of that. We don't watch so much anymore. But having them do that in a Walking Dead property, I loved it. Okay, I loved Z Nation for its over-the-top cheesiness, and I remember going on Reddit after this episode aired because I was just starting to dip my toes into the world of being involved in the online community. I think I met you during the break in between season 7.
That sounds right. Pandemic in February, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's the first meet. I
went on Reddit and people were like, God, this is like the giant cheese thing in Z Nation. This is so stupid. And I just remember being like, this is awesome. And if it was this all the time, I would not be mad. I loved that Aisha Tyler was in that episode too, and she's great. She directed that one, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the scenes with
she directed
Dwight
a lot of episodes.
in the bar.
She did. Yeah. She's a huge fan of the show and the franchise, which I love.
She also directed JD, which is the one where June meets Senior.
And Sherry almost falls off the horse. Is that the same one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which we still have a gif of.
When June reads John's letter and everybody cries a lot.
Which is a great episode. I will say though,
But we prefer to focus on Christine falling off the horse.
yeah, okay, that's fine. No emotional.
That was the one where all the walkers were callbacks to other parts of the June Walker and
June, well, and mostly a lot of June walkers.
Yeah, all the different Junes.
I just wanted to say we covered it at the time, and I had said at the time that I could take or leave the wrestling. I think the world is better having it. And I think I like that people appreciate it. It just wasn't for me. I didn't dislike it even. It was like,
shut up, Dave.
It's ambivalent.
I like it. I like it when they do different things that appeal to different people. I mean, I understand that it doesn't land with everybody. I watched wrestling with my dad when I was a little kid. Wrestling was a big deal in my household too. So I liked it.
I did too. I liked wrestling
and
with my friends.
And they did a great job executing it.
My classmates, we used to draw each other's as wrestlers and our teachers, and we'd fight against them on paper. This is how like into wrestling we used to be. But I don't know. I grew up.
It's kind of like how everybody hated the TV sequences. Channel 9.
5?
No, Channel 4. Excuse me.
Channel 4,
which was season 509. Everybody hated that, and I didn't. I thought it was fun. Like, do something different.
I agree.
Of course, I say that, but I hate it in dreams. So.
Did you hate it or you just didn't care for it?
No, I actively hated it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's always feast or famine with you. Okay. All right. I'm going to go through my brain and I'm going to choose a moment.
You know, I picture David's brain like a Rolodex.
He's going to edit all this out so that he looks like so smooth. You motherfucker.
Just the cuts are going to be great for this one.
Okay. While he's doing it, I'm going to be doing this. And then people are going to be like, why is she giving
Why is she so mean to him? Because that's all that'll be left. It's like just middle fingers to Dave. Okay, so I am going to choose the introduction of Alex from the early seasons. I think it was season 2 because season 1 was like nothing episodes, right? On the boat. Why I liked it so much. I liked the character a lot and I saw so much potential, much like the way most people see Tobias. I saw way more potential in Alex. You're thinking to yourself, who is Alex, right?
Is it the
Rachel,
girl
you have that face.
on the raft?
On the raft.
Okay.
That's right.
Oh.
So this is that the cosmonaut that Strand is talking to?
That's why I liked it, Bridget, because it was an extension of Flight 462.
462, I think that's the name of it. Right. Yeah, the webisodes.
The webisodes that they were like going really hard on the first 2 seasons, I think it was. And I liked the character. She was like kind of the heroine of those episodes, and having her come on to Fear proper was pretty cool. But sadly, she swore her revenge and never showed up again. I still have hope for season 8. I don't.
They're going to pull a Morales. She'll show up for 1 second, get her face bitten off or something.
Aww.
And you'll be like, oh, cool.
I'd be okay with
Thanks,
that.
guys.
I think she would be too. She's like, I did it, guys. I'm going to go home now. Got my paycheck.
Got that pay.
A satisfied Dave. That's all that matters. That sounded really weird.
It sounded bad.
I'm okay with it. Let's keep going.
Let's move along.
My number 6 is when Dwight finds Sherry. Even though Dwighty Boy started out as such an and we all hated him and he did horrible, terrible things, I think his character has a really, really nice redemption arc. And man, I just remember the emotions I was feeling when we heard Sherry's voice over the radio and he recognized her voice and we all knew who it was. And I was just like, literally had the vapors.
Vapors.
Yeah. And then he went out in the alleyway and I'm just like, whenever I'm watching the show, like any scenes, I always imagine like, what if it were me? What if it were real? What if, right? To finally find that person after searching for so long. I mean, he literally chased her across the flipping country. I mean, it just so happens that they're gonna show up but you know, it's a show. We're gonna believe it because we believe in happy endings.
That really was a sweet moment, even though I was too upset. Because that was the episode right after
that was Alaska, wasn't it? So that was 6-4, I think.
No, 6-4 was the key.
6-3.
So it was 6-3.
Okay, then it was 6-3. Then it was 6-3.
I love that whole episode because of the dynamic with Dwight and Althea.
Right? Al and Al, yeah.
I mean, Al.
It's also where I got our first hint of Teddy because we had the embalmed walker that spit the cotton out in Al's face when she attacked her. That was so gross.
Right. was sewn up, and then it
sewn up in her face, and she popped her face.
The one reaction that we all sort of had across the board, even Sharon at the time, even though she wasn't on the show, was like, why are we shouldn't be crying. Why are we crying? Because we're like, should we be crying? It was like, yeah, let's just lean into it because of Dwight and his history, but we couldn't help ourselves. That's what makes it a great moment.
I had very mixed emotions, but yeah, overall I was happy.
We were trying to not, but we couldn't not.
One of the things that pushed me into watching The Walking Dead finally was I asked one of my friends because Dwight had come back, and I was like, was Dwight a good guy or a bad guy on The Walking Dead? Because I still hadn't watched it. And she was like, well, and I was like, okay, I guess I need to watch this show and find out what the hell's going on. So thank you, Dwight. You're the reason I started watching the main show for the most part.
There we go. There's another reason to like Dwight.
Also, I mean, he's going to show up later in my list. My number 6 is the airplane sequence when they take off in 508. Is anybody out there? And I like it because it involves everybody. You've got Alicia and Strand in the cockpit, Morgan and Grace getting on the airplane, John and Dwight catching up to the airplane, Annie and all the kids on the airplane. And then while that part is going on, you've also got Sarah and Wendell and Daniel setting up the runway where they're going to land. And I just love that whole sequence. I love when everybody's in it and we get a little bit of everybody. So the part where the plane takes off, which is exciting because you're wondering if John and Dwight are going to make it back in time, which of course they are. Of course, you know they are. But then while they're on the plane, you have Grace breaking Morgan's stick and throwing the end of it off the plane. And all the kids being comforted. And then you got John and June's proposal, which of course I love. But then you also have Alicia and Strand
telling Alicia, right?
Well, no, he says your mother'd be proud of you, she'd be proud of you. And Alicia said, she's not the only one, or I'm not the only one.
Yeah, that's it.
So, and even though I don't really love Alicia and Strand, I was, I felt that was sweet. And then when they land, you get the exciting landing where they're not sure if they're going to make it because Chill has to go over and plug the thing back in, and which also was foreshadowed, guys. That was foreshadowed in the first episode of season 5 when Alicia trips over the wire. They have all the wires strung up when the plane crashes, and it's to trip the walkers that are coming so she can kill them, and then she trips over them. That was foreshadowed in the beginning of the season. Somebody was going to trip over wire and knock the lights out. But anyway, then after they land, you get everybody meeting up again. You get Alicia and Daniel reunited, and it's so sweet and so cute.
Number 5.
Oh, okay.
Number 5.
Let's just say this. What is the line from Morgan at the end of the Fear the Walking Dead season 6 premiere?
Morgan Jones is dead. And you were dealing with somebody else now.
Oh yeah.
And I'll tell you why. It's not even as much. It's not even as much the line. It's all the faces of Colby Minifie. As that whole scene unfolds, she goes from so many different faces, like confident, laughing to herself, and all of a sudden realizing the horror and what she might have possibly wrought. And
when
then
she finds Emil's head.
The Morgan's line is almost like the icing on the cake at that point because of Colby. It's meant to be the thing, but
Morgan Jones is dead. You dealing with somebody else now. Except she wasn't really. It's the same old Morgan.
So much promise.
It was Morgan. It was still him. Okay, so my number 5, you'll be surprised that this is so high on my list, low on my, I don't know.
It's low?
Take it however you want to. Okay, I'm realizing a lot of my picks are like how I reacted to them emotionally, right? Like how they made me feel. I went through the Rolodex of my brain and I picked out moments that I reacted the most to. Madison's death.
Season 4, episode 8. Yeah.
I remember being so happy. I was so excited. I was so happy that she was finally gone and I didn't have to deal with this character anymore. Wow. I was just elated.
So this is where the controversy comes in? Is this what this is it mostly? Oh, it keeps going. All right.
Okay, you know those memes with the chick who's like doing all the calculations and everything? Like that's me watching this episode, right? And I'm like, okay, even though we didn't see her body, like there's no way she got out for weeks afterwards.
We make sure?
I'm like, no. I'm like, I really want to see her dead body just so I have this confirmation. But at the same time, I kept replaying that scene and watching it over and over again in my head. And I'm like, there's no way she got out. There's no way she survives. She's got to be dead. And I was so happy.
I feel like we need to make a disclaimer. Like, I feels that way. This is what
No, I know that, but I can't even put into words how much I despise Madison as a character.
The way I came into the show and watched it, I didn't really have any kind of attachment to Madison because I started with Laura and then watched through the rest of season 4 and then went back and watched the beginning and watched it there. I didn't really have any feeling except I recognized her as Cassidy from Lost, and that was Sawyer's ex-girlfriend who played the long con on him. And so I
that'll taint your opinion.
hated her.
I would just want to go on record by saying I was pretty sad about Madison leaving the show. The way that she went off the show became so similar to Rachel, you fearing her coming back. My brain kept on thinking of ways she could come back, and it became a running joke throughout season 5, basically. What if this was Madison? What if that was Madison?
Everyone became Madison for a while. Yeah,
Everyone
exactly.
was Madison.
It's the Scooby-Doo
what if the
moment.
CRM was Madison?
Right. The Scooby-Doo
What
moment
if the
where
CRM pilot is Madison?
what if Raleigh is Madison? It's like, oh my God, that would make so much sense. She's so
What if Teddy is Madison?
I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids.
But like in John Glover's voice. Yeah. I can see that though, can't you?
Mother.
What if Madison is mother?
That'd be Rachel's
That
preference.
was Madison's body in the...
Ooh, guys, awkward.
There's my dead body. Confirmation. I'm happy.
My number 5 is the dam explosion.
So season 3, episode 16?
The damn explosion. You're no Will Livingston.
Damn explosion.
too.
Oh, it's called Sleigh Ride. That had a lot of cool moments too. So the actual dam
we're talking
exploding?
about moments, Dave. We're not talking about episodes. So yeah, the actual dam explosion. Well, you're not getting the message, Dave.
Moments.
You keep talking about episodes. It's moments.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I love the show.
He's like, I gotta analyze episodes. It's all I'm programmed
And
to
then,
do.
and before that, when Daniel comes onto the catwalk, and he's holding his face together.
Yeah.
I mean, that is pretty fun.
Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, not at
Actually,
all.
this isn't on
Not
my
even
list.
Thank you.
This isn't on my list, but honorable mention when they do that scene it's in season 6 where
He pulls
he
the thing
pulls
out.
the little denture piece out.
Right.
We talked about this at some point in these lists because I said the fact that I really liked it because it showed that there was continuity, that they had paid attention to the source material.
There was another thing because I noticed a parallel that was really cool. I don't remember what episode it was in the first 3 seasons, but it was an episode where Strand walks up to a car and he pulls the car cover off and he's like, haha, my style and my color. But then in season 5, when they're trying to put the airplane together and he pulls the cover off the airplane and he's like, not my color or my style, just the same way he did the other one. It was a cool little callback.
Wow.
I didn't even notice
it.
that. Yeah, I love that.
Wow.
The dam explosion was, it was just a really pivotal moment in that storyline where what was going to happen? How were they going to manage this dam? Because everyone in Mexico wanted to get it. What was the proctors? Who are these guys? Where did they come from? How are we going to collect and figure out this storyline? Because this doesn't really make all that much sense, but it was
We'll just throw them all into the water.
It was like a pinnacle moment. It was the denouement. No, it wasn't. It was the climax. Denouement.
Denouement?
Yeah. Yeah, Dave. Is so French much?
Remember you said you don't even remember half the things you say? Is this one of them?
This is why. This will be one of them tomorrow.
Yeah, you're going to clip and I'm going to read it because it shows up as text on the screen. So before I even play the clip, I see the text on the screen and I'm like, I wonder who said French much.
Oh, it was me.
Oh,
it was you. It was you.
As I did it today
Reading
when I looked at it
transcript.
and it said, poor Sam, more like poor me because I had to watch that haircut. And I was like, I read it and I was like, who said that? That's hilarious.
You should give her a raise.
Me. That's so funny. Yes, this is one of those moments. Denouement. French much, Dave?
Learn your French.
Dead's best moments.
Damn.
Damn.
French much.
Every time you say the damn explosion, it makes me want to laugh.
Right, because she keeps saying it too.
Damn explosion.
Damn explosion.
Damn, it's a moment, Dave. It's the damn explosion. So it's the damn explosion.
The damn explosion.
Plot twist. I'm
damn
actually
explosion.
talking about the episode where Alicia goes, what? Because they were blowing stuff up then too. That's the explosion I'm talking about.
So that would have been damn explosion.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Anyway, I'm done. Moving on.
My number 5 is in 408 when Morgan and June are trapped in the stadium and Alicia has the confrontation with Al. And Al tells her that she would have punched her in the cooch. It's the most random line ever. That's not my favorite part. I'm just bringing this part up. But the first time I realized
you were saying that.
That's my favorite moment when she said she was going to punch her in the cooch.
Punch her in the cooch.
That's called a sushi chop.
I'll keep that in mind.
And les poissons, Dave. French much.
Le poisson. French much? Charity?
I must move on or I will start singing for Little Mermaid. So let's go on.
Okay.
I don't even know anymore.
So when Alicia, she's listened to the tape, the Amina tape, and she goes storming in and she's going to kill June. And Morgan steps in front of June and he says, I stepped aside for your brother. I will not step aside for you. I just love it. And yes, it's a Morgan moment, y'all. I did like Morgan
Shook.
in the first couple of seasons. And I love that what he's saying is, I let Nick kill Ennis and that ended up killing Nick. And I'm not going to let you do this because it's the cycle. You kill June and then John's going to come after, John may be dying, but he's going to come after you or somebody's going to come after you. And it just keeps going on and on. And after Nick killed Ennis, he wasn't happy with himself. Like he didn't feel better for doing it. And he doesn't want Alicia to go through the same pain and suffering that Nick was going through after he killed Ennis. Killing June wasn't going to bring Madison back, especially since June didn't have anything to do with it in the first place. But it wasn't going to bring her mother back. It wasn't going to make her feel better. It was just going to make her more bitter and angrier. And she had more potential than that. And it's not because it's June. I would have loved it. It's because I love that line and how he delivered it and what it meant.
And all like the tendrils, like you said, with the brother, it even has tendrils back to Walking Dead because there was a moment on The Walking Dead where Morgan looks at Rick. We got to kill them before they kill us. And he's kind of like, what? And Tara's kind of looking at Morgan going, was he always like this sort of? It's like, didn't the governor kind of just do that before? Didn't he say that?
Well, when they were in the barn with Jared.
Well, that too. Yeah. That just piles on too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So having it come back to fear and him taking that lesson saying, we can't just keep, it has to stop with us, right?
Well, he says that to Charlie too, because Alicia and Lucy and Strand have attacked the vultures. And they're going to kill, if they catch Charlie, they're going to kill her because they blame her for Madison. So he grabs Charlie, and while they're in the van, Charlie's like, "Why did you save me?" And he's like, "Because it has to stop somewhere. We can't just keep going round and round and round and round." So I did like Morgan up until it was season 6.
Was it season 6? I thought it was like season 5.
She didn't like the somebody else now.
Yeah. even though he was the same person.
She stopped liking him when he yelled at June.
It was when he let Dakota wander around the complex free after she just murdered John in cold blood.
You know what that reminds me of? This is a perfect segue, by the way, because I'm going to go into this.
She's a child.
Am I next?
Sure, you're next.
And this is number 4?
You're number 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 4 actually happens to be, and I actually did think of this one as, and I didn't know exactly where to put it, but this is as good a place as any, and that's that moment when Morgan has Ginny over that rock outside Eden, which we know as Eden, right? And everybody's looking at him because he's supposed to have the answer and he's supposed to be the one to do this. And just beforehand, Ginny and he, as Ginny's like, she's in pain and she was just shot and he's holding her around with a potato sack as a gurney sort of thing for her arm. And she's saying all throughout that scene leading up to that, she's saying, we're the same, Morgan. We keep thinking that we're not, but we're the same. Going back to that moment with Naomi / June, Morgan stopping Alicia from killing Naomi. So you go back to this and it's kind of like where he yells out, and it actually kind of made my heart skip a beat. And he says, "What the hell are we doing out here?" And all the flashbacks, the black and white flashbacks of John. And that was just such a moment where like you think it might happen and everybody expects it from him. And he has to be the one to say, it has to stop with me. It has to stop with me. It was just a powerful, powerful moment that made me stop. Whatever you think after that moment, whatever happens after that, in that moment, as I was watching it week to week, that was a pretty powerful moment.
I gotta say, Colby's performance in that moment.
For you, it was Morgan that brought up the emotions. For me, it was both. It was Colby. Like Colby,
it's like,
oh my God, Colby.
She was
I was just like, do it. Oh my God. Oh.
And that crying and the yelling cry sort of thing. Oh. But them going off of each other and feeding off their kinetic energy. It was just explosive.
In anybody else's hands, I feel like Jenny could have been a very cartoonish villain. You said, yes, she does chew the scenery a bit, but she's still a very powerful villain. Just like perhaps in the hands of a different actor, nothing against you, Tanya Pinkins, but Martha would have been a more solid villain for people, because I know a lot of people didn't like her. They thought she was a ridiculous villain, and maybe it was the acting. Maybe it was the casting.
It was the writing.
I think
people didn't understand what she represented too.
Yeah,
she was just walking.
But again,
depression.
with a different actor, it could have been put across better with a different actor. You never know. But
that's one where they really buried the lead. They give her backstory like at the end. Yeah, I get you're going for like the shock value of this is why she is the way that she is, but you should have led with this because it makes her a more believable villain. She seemed so over the top, so like malicious for no reason. Like, why do you care about these random people? Like, you're chasing people you don't even know.
Because they're trying to help people. I don't know.
And I hate help, but for no reason.
If I didn't get help, then nobody else should.
But it's like you don't know that until you
but we didn't know that.
Yeah, they buried the lead on it. It wasn't a revelation that they thought it was going to be like, oh, like you're like, oh, cool. I wish you had said that at the beginning, because then maybe I wouldn't have hated her so much. Thanks.
Right. We find out, and then we're like, oh, okay.
Oh.
I still don't feel stupid.
You're like, I don't feel sorry for her now because she sucked so bad.
You know what? In the rear view, though, I actually, this is one of those things that as much as we rail on Fear the Walking Dead for even season 6 and 7, about how the story arc doesn't hold so much, that part didn't hold as much in season 4. But in the rear view, when you kind of get to see everything from a distance, I appreciate it a little bit more over time. Honestly, the Martha arc.
Well, that's because you have the whole picture. Once you have the whole picture, she's a much more believable villain. You kind of get where she's coming from. It becomes more of like a Thanos thing.
Like an archetype-ish
I get
situation.
why he wants to destroy half of everybody, and it's like to really save everyone. You don't see that until after. So like, yeah, sure, great on a second or third watch. But there are people who are like never going to watch that again because they were like, that was ass. No, thank you.
100%.
I'm a boob man.
We even said it at the time too.
Sorry, boys.
Have you seen it?
I haven't said that in so long. Sorry, boys.
Dave's like, what the
Sorry, boys. Sushi chop. I get it. I'm hip with the kids.
Sushi chop. It's just a chop.
It's like
anyway,
there's a.
My number 4 is Travis finding Madison and Alicia again. That's why I said I was like, turns out I'm a bigger fan of the first 3 seasons than I thought I would. There are a lot of really impactful moments in the first 3 seasons, and this was one that I really enjoyed because the characters are separated. And while with Walking Dead, you always kind of assumed like they'll find a way to come back together and it'll happen again, they'll be together again. Or at least that's really your hope. With Fear, it was a different show. You didn't know. Is this it now? Is Travis gone? Like, we don't know what's going to happen. We all hated Chris at that point. So like, good riddance. So we weren't quite sure. It was shocking to find out that Travis had left his son. Because that was the other thing. He was going after his son. He was making it very clear, I'm leaving because I'm choosing my child in this situation, which is, as much as people probably talk trash about Travis for that decision, it was the right decision. Your child
absolutely
comes first. And especially now that your child only has you. So to all of a sudden see Travis again, you're like, what is going on? So there's that. You're like curious about what happens. And obviously that gets filled in later. And that is a really great episode where we find out what happened to Chris. It's heartbreaking, but it's a really great episode. But the initial reunification, you're happy and you're relieved in a way, but at the same time, you're kind of like, what else? It leaves a lot of questions
here.
What happened? Did he realize Chris was like a total dick? Because we all knew it, but but it is his kid. So what's going on?
Further punctuated by like everything that gets filled in later, right? So that
Plus,
moment has more meaning.
I enjoyed the hotel as a setting too. I thought it gave like a good variety, and so I was like happy that kind of with that whole story arc there.
I wanted to say because I haven't watched those episodes.
Shame.
I
think you actually might like them. I say that all the time though.
Shame.
Confess.
Shane.
Number 4, I think should be on everybody's list. Strand's laugh.
Strand?
What preceded that again? I'm trying to remember. Can you recall?
That's when he
moment?
found.
Yes.
That is when Sherry and Dwight show up because he told his men to go out and bring back the dark horses, and they came up on the tower with hoods over their heads, and the big reveal, and he sees that it's just Dwight and Sherry,
and he's like, "It's you two." That's great.
It's great. It was great. He's up there playing golf, eating strawberries.
He's eating strawberries. He's got his little phone.
Yeah.
Truly the highlight of season 7B. 7. Yeah. Period.
I remember putting in my notes, and I never said this in the episode, but I looked at his caddy and I'm like, is that Clementine? I was like, I wanted to look really closely because she really resembled Clementine from the Walking Dead game, the Telltale game.
I don't think I paid
and I was like,
close of attention.
Let me look at that leg for a minute. Those who know.
Spoilers, Dave. Spoilers.
She was I thought she was kind of a dead ringer. I'm like, huh.
Could have been like a little thing they threw in there.
I finally brought it up.
Congratulations.
3 years later.
Yeah, that episode was till death also with the...
that was the same as the wrestling.
The wrestling
episode.
See, it was a good episode.
My number 4 is the San Antonio split.
Yes.
I just want to say that it made me jump out of my seat and cheer like a certain part of Game of Thrones did that Bridget has not seen yet. It's okay, Bridget. It's okay.
How much of that moment can you frame for those who know? Anything?
Arya taking out the Night King.
Gotcha.
Because she has the dagger, and then she drops it.
Don't do the movement.
She can't do what I'm doing. But she drops this dagger. Anyway.
Too spoilery.
That part.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
All right.
Come back. Ears.
Okay. Anyway, so
I was yelling at Sharon because her hand movements were too spoilery.
I read your lips. I saw you be like, no more hand movements.
You didn't read the rest of the books, did you?
No.
Okay. This episode was very, very shortly after that happened on Game of Thrones. I legitimately was excited enough that I jumped up out of my seat. Was like, yes, even though it was ridiculous.
Which number that one is for you, that moment.
Yes, it was silly. For real, June could have run up with the rifle and shot him herself. I mean, it's so dumb, but it was so funny and so cute. And I love the whole episode, the whole Western theme park. Again, I was coming straight off of Westworld, so I really loved the Western theme and everything.
That's like the keystone of that episode. Like, you could like everything about that episode. It's like, oh, this is the thing we'll remember.
It was like, so tense. Is he going to do it? Of course he's going to do it. He's John. Dwight had the strength to lift the axe up and hold it, but he didn't have the strength to push the walker off of him and get up.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
yeah,
It was silly. It was silly.
Your blanket depicts them behind you. Yeah. It's from that episode.
Yep, exactly. Right there.
Yep.
I heard somebody say, I've talked about this on that podcast too, but somebody said that it was best that Dwight met June and John first, because had he met anybody else, he likely would have been dead.
Mm-hmm.
He's shooting at them or whatever. They would have just shot him and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
But June and John are the two that are going to take the time. And somebody looking for his wife or missing a loved one, who's going to understand that better than John and June? Because what if Morgan had just met up with him?
That would have been very complicated, because he knows him.
It would have been crazy,
Or knows
so that was also a very good
episode,
moment, though.
Yeah,
when we see those two on camera, and he's like, "Did you take the 20?"
That was like the Californians. Did you take the 40? I took the 1 to the 405.
It was good when I was on it.
It made me laugh so hard. It was very tense for a moment. Yeah.
Truly, I would say my number 4 is the entirety of Humbug's Gulch. I loved so much. I loved so much that they called it back from Laura when he said, "I work at Humbug's Gulch," and they brought that back in the next season.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Continuity. Dave, your number 3.
Going off of that, and this is probably nothing to do with the show itself, more than how much I enjoyed discussing everything surrounding Ner Tamid. The 39 Nistarim, that whole concept of the 39 people in the world who keep it running. And you'll never know who they are. And it's just like the idea that these are kind of like, these people are them, in a sense, our protagonists. All the cultural references surrounding that. And I really just loved how much people were enjoying all that stuff that they may or may not have known about, that I did even more research on than I already knew. It was kind of nice. For those who don't remember, that's the episode you meet Rabbi Jacob Kessner. And it's the same episode you find out Sarah Rabinowitz's last name. And I don't know if the last name, but we do find out that she's Jewish too. And so that was kind of a cool little reveal too.
So I had recently started listening to Squawking Dead at that time.
What?
And
thank you.
I hadn't even really started interacting with y'all yet. I was just listening. One of the things I loved was you explaining all of the Jewish customs and stuff that they talked about. I found that super educational, and everybody, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any gods or anything, but I do enjoy the study and learning how people think, what they think, the study of religions.
I love our Judaism lessons with David.
Yeah, I do.
I really do.
I mean, it was super interesting to me, and you explained it in a way that regular people could understand it.
You dumbed it down for us, David. Thank you.
I'm a technician by trade. I have to dumb down a lot of things. So I'm the mansplainer, the robot mansplainer.
He says all the traditional things, and then he's like, "Now here's what it really means, guys."
This was before AI chatbot, so sorry.
Right. We had to feed the chat GPT more info so it could have actual conversations. But I think what I liked the most about that was I was only going to get into it a little bit, and people were like, "Oh wow!" And then
more
not
questions,
just Rachel, right? It was just people in the audience were like this, and I was like reacting to it. And I was like, "Oh, I'll keep going then." And then there's this and this tradition. This ties into that, and it was a lot of fun. So I liked that moment. Oh, the thing on top of that was when we were discussing the trailer and who this person might be. And I yelled out, I think that's a yarmulke. I think we're going to meet our first openly Jewish character. And then we find out there's another one.
I remember that trailer breakdown. I remember you saying
as much as I don't care about that stuff, it was kind of interesting. It was like, okay, we're going here.
No, it's exciting when you see someone more
it's nice
relatable
to have representation,
on
screen.
Right?
Like representation.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
And I went into that as well. I was kind of like, it was a good feeling. It's like, I didn't need it, but I'm glad I got it. That's how I put it then.
It's like how I feel when I see a redhead on screen.
Hey, Bridget, she's right there. It's Jenny.
And a real redhead. That's how I feel when I see real redheads.
Yeah, there are not many.
I love that the show incorporates things that we can explore. It's not just things about religion, but, you know, they put books in the background that you can look up. They put all these little Easter eggs here and there and references to real things. I love that they go through the trouble to include those kinds of things in the show for us, the diehard fans, to discover.
Maps.
My
number 3 is arguably an episode, but we'll say when Alicia saves the Cackleberry kids. I just love all of that. I love everything that has to do with it. I mean, I don't love that she like tried to do it all herself, right? Like I was kind of like, eh. But then when she got there, when she was like actually at the place, at the treehouse, killing all the walkers, like they're busting through the gate, and she's like taking them all on, and then she's
the blood
like,
in the mouth thing. At
you gotta
some point.
go. I mean, there's.
I know. I don't like it.
That happened.
Yeah.
That's a thing that happened. But
and then Thomas told us nothing to worry about.
Yeah, right.
In the chat, I'm a radiologist by trade.
It's fine. It's fine. You can swallow a gallon of blood. You're good now.
A gallon of irradiated blood. Nothing's gonna happen.
You're good.
So that's cancer right there.
That moment where Annie's like, no, you need to let us help ourselves as well. And so Annie kind of takes charge and gets all the kids down the rope. And it was just a great scene. I just really loved how she saved all the kids. And now they're missing again. Where the are the Cackleberry kids?
Where Heath is.
They're in the caverns, safe and sound.
They're all in purgatory with Sawyer and Kate and Jack and the others.
Ranger Samuels.
Mr. Echo.
Oh, Ranger Samuels.
My number 3 is Strand and the Cosmonaut. Children of Wrath, episode 8 of season 3. I just love that interaction. I don't know, it sparked something in me that, like, when we watched the first episode of Fear the Walking Dead, but also the first episode of The Walking Dead, where it's got this horror element to it, and it just kind of makes you really think, like, what if this happened? Like, what would you do? That was one of those moments. He's in space. He's dead. How is he going to come back? He's not going to be able to. Even if you were to like crash land, he's going to end up crash landing. So he's dead. There's no food. He's running out of food. It's so slim a chance of survival. It reminds me a lot of Last Man on Earth. I don't know if you guys have watched that show, but I truly enjoy that
with
show.
Will Forte?
Yes, with Will Forte. It's a great show. It's dystopian, which is obviously why I love it, because that's like my jam.
Sudeikis is his brother, etc.
Yes, Jason Sudeikis is Will Forte's brother, and he is an astronaut. And you find out further. Kristen Shaw, January Jones.
Dang.
Yeah, there's great people. It's an nice amazing show. A very funny take on like dystopian future.
It was a good break from The Walking Dead.
Yes, yeah, universe. It was nice. But it's in the same vein. It's very much like the type of storyline that I really enjoy.
It's one of those shows that I really loved the first couple of seasons, but then it got so twisted and weird, like all the intertwining stuff. It was like, whoa, what? But the first 2 seasons were great, man.
It does get really weird. But Jason Sudeikis is Will Forte's brother, and he's an astronaut, and he's on a space station when like the end of the world happens, and he does find a way to get back. I don't know, this like is in the same vein for me, that scene. I don't know when they would have come out. Like I think Last Man on Earth, that scene probably came out after that scene on Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But I like intertwine them in my brain now when I think about it. I really enjoyed the interaction, the camaraderie that they found with each other. But again, the reason I included Space Oddity in the background of that video is because I love that song. That's one of my favorite songs. I love Space Oddity. It's a great David Bowie song. But it also reminds me of that scene, because he's alone up there. The expanse of space is so startling already, but then to be there alone,
right?
That's horrific.
It's like Gravity.
I gotta plug my ears for this.
Oh, I'm freaking Rachel out, I guess.
Why?
I like the idea that it might be connected to the shuttle that fell in
season 9, right? That's exactly what I was thinking.
10. Yeah.
Did anybody say that at the time?
Yeah. Oh, a lot of people did. That's how I heard it.
Okay.
Because I had no idea, because I didn't watch Fear episodes when he were on the boat. So that was how I knew about it.
That's also Strand's farewell to Abigail, which is
with the sunglasses and the fires reflecting off his shades.
Yeah.
It's a cool scene.
good.
Yeah.
So something you all don't know about me, apparently, I have a crazy, irrational fear of space.
It's
And
terrifying,
water.
so I don't blame you.
And something else, flying.
Don't ever
sort of,
watch
not anymore,
Gravity
Mm.
or Interstellar.
Star Wars is fine because it's like
Yeah.
super fake, but
It's, like, out
anything
there.
too realistic or like if I think about it too
So,
hard,
like Star Trek.
I actually start panicking
So stupid.
because Star Trek's super realistic.
Well, I mean, a little bit more grounded than space fantasy wizards.
Rachel, it's how I feel when we used to go to the Museum of Natural Science in the city that I live in when I was a kid, and there's a whale skeleton there.
Yeah.
And when I see it, still to this day, when I see it, I get really panicky. It's so unnerving to me to know that there are such big things in the world.
So it's a real
disorder?
thing. And Silas actually told me
Fear.
it's called megalophobia. It's scared of
Big open spaces.
huge things. I mean, it can be like a thing or space. You're not going to catch me standing next to the Grand Canyon either because I can't handle that. No.
You know what it is? I had that
The ocean,
fear too.
forget about it.
I think it's sort of the same thing as like my fear of heights, where the enormity of the ground below is just too much. But when I went there, it is too much. And so you're like, your brain can't hold on to that.
That's like driving up here.
It's
It's
amazing.
on the parkway when you're out and you can look out on these vistas and you can just see all the way off the side of the mountain. But Rachel, I know like you can go to the beach because we went to the
Yes.
beach. You didn't go
But-
like to the water or anything,
Right.
but you were okay at the beach.
But like in open water, forget, like you're not going to get me on a cruise. I need to be near land.
You know that you don't want to, that you're not stuck on this
Yeah.
boat that could go
Yeah.
down at any moment.
Yes.
I wanted to add one more thing to what you were saying. It's like the idea that, because it does tie into Last Man on Earth, which was, it's like you're the safest place you could ever be in like a zombie apocalypse, right? And yet you're disconnected from people.
Yeah.
You could talk to them maybe on a radio if your power holds out, but it makes you say like, oh, I'd rather risk the zombie apocalypse for a chance at being with people. That's the thing, which is telling for Strand, by the way, as a person who didn't want to so much connect with people.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to connect with people, but Strand thrives on being around people.
Well, if
Doesn't
he can
necessarily mean he
control
wants to
them,
connect
you know?
with any of them. He needs an audience. My number 3 is Sarah jumping out of the fridge and telling Raleigh off
Nice.
and leave what you don't.
No. Oh.
Some fellas will do anything to avoid asking for directions. Lucky for you, we know the way. I've done a lot of bad that I gotta live with. But the one thing I can't abide with is that I killed polar bear for nothing. You I can live with. Let's go.
The line
Damn
is
it.
everything.
This is the episode where Logan gets killed. They take over the oil fields, and John and June are up on the ridge. They snipe the walker that's pushing the donkey wheel that runs the oil. This is where we first meet Jenny. 5:13. Leave what you don't. And it's semi towards the beginning of the episode because she shows up later at the oil fields. It's really overall a Sarah episode. This is the episode where they rescue Janice at the truck stop, and it changes Logan's mind about helping people, and just as he changes his mind about helping people, Jenny's people shoot him in the head.
Jenny pulls a Martha. You were helping people. Don't do it.
Raleigh stops at a roadblock there in his truck, and there's like a roadblock of like refrigerators in the road, and he walks up to him, and Sarah kicks it open and stands up with the gun in her face, and like you said, Rachel, she says some men just won't refuse to ask for directions or something like that. But then when he's like, I'm not telling you anything, and she's like, she shoots the gun, she's like, I've done a lot of bad stuff in my time.
She makes a reference to killing Clayton.
She's such not a whimsical character, but we look to her for humor. For her to have such a visceral, explosive outburst like this in such a serious way, man, it was just shocking. And kudos to Mo, because like it literally gave me goosebumps when I saw it. We were talking about this earlier. I had just started communicating with Squawking Dead. I messaged Dave and I was like, this is not spoilery, but you have got to watch this clip. And I sent him the clip of Sarah. It was just like, whoa, a whole new dimension to the character of
Sarah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She had a similar moment in season 4 at the top of the hospital roof with
Jimbo
Brower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was more.
But you got to see that for the first time.
She was more herself, though. She was still her laconic, smart-ass self. That wasn't emotional, just gut punch coming out. She was still kind of flippant and, still Sarah. But this was different. This was a Sarah we've never really seen before. From the bottom of her soul coming out, it was great.
For hijacking Clayton's thing, being responsible for his death.
Right, right. Dave, you're number 2.
Madison putting a spoon behind Troy's eye.
Ah! Yeah,
and then also her taking him down with the hammer. Okay. It's just because it is like a bookend. She has him right where she wants him, and is a symbolism for like leading him around by the nose, and he's like fascinated by her. And once he sees her strength, according to me, not Rachel, and follows it and wants to see how far this can go. And then at the end of it, she realizes that you're trying to tame the devil in a sense, or a hurricane. Let's just say that, like a force of nature, somebody that doesn't have the same ballasts in place that most people have to stop themselves from doing something horrible. I feel like those two moments are kind of equal because you get to see that she is really capable. On the other hand, she's only human, and you can't tame a hurricane. And it's f***ing cool. Like, come on, where in the universe do you see anything like that in the Walking Dead universe? Nowhere. And it's never going to happen again. Maybe on Raise the Dead, because Daryl does cool things.
At least I didn't use a spoon.
I use a baguette behind the eye.
My number 2. Oh, John finding June.
Oh,
that's my number 2, actually. Yeah. Oh. Need I say more?
And then he gets shot.
Laura? Sorry. Yeah.
You're just thinking the whole time, like, is this going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And then we see Naomi and you're like, oh, okay, so there's like a pretty good chance this will happen. And then you're like, but maybe not, because she's kind of crazy. And then it does. So I don't know. It's just nice.
And then Alicia shoots him.
And it's immediately undercut.
So that was,
typical.
That was my introduction to Alicia, because I watched Laura first. That was the first episode I watched, and then I continued from there because I wanted to know what happened.
Bitch.
Right? I wanted to know what happened to this couple I just watched. I then watched the next episode, and at the end they're reunited, then Alicia shoots him. And I was like, that was, first impressions and all. It took me a long time to get over that. So people wonder why I'm not an Alicia fan. There you go.
Whoops. Hey, killed your man.
You don't start at the beginning.
Shoes were so meaningful. Like when she stepped out of the Range Rover and she had the tennis shoes on, and you just knew right then that's who it was. Like, oh, okay.
My number 2 is when Nick kills Ennis.
Wow. I was gonna lean in that direction, but okay. Yeah. The push.
Yeah, it was the push and the look on his face. Again, I chose moments that like made me feel things. And in that moment, I was just like, yeah. And he just like does it in such a brutal way. I very much enjoyed it.
Were you worried about him at the time though too?
No.
Like what that would mean for him?
No.
To kill
Not
him
at
like
all.
that? I was a little bit.
I don't think about emotional ramifications. I'm in the moment.
The moment was
yeah, and in the moment, in the moment, he needed some killing.
Why were you Randy Savage?
If you have to ask, you'll never know.
One of my favorite moments I actually didn't think about until just now was in that episode. They leave Nick and Morgan alone at Swati.
Oh my god, that is a great scene. And he just
like,
keeps
what if
knocking
I
him
try
over?
to get away? He just whacks him over the head.
It's so good.
And then he tries to run, he just trips him.
It's so good.
That was good.
And the acting in that though, because he's like, and then he like tries to run. It's so funny. It's just so good. It's good.
For the audio podcast, he makes a feint, and Nick tries to feint Morgan, but Morgan can't be feinted.
He fakes right. It's so good.
He's at the 10-yard line. Oh, tripped up at the 5.
I don't know who made the decision, but it was like the most Strand thing ever when they go to cut their ropes off because they're going to split up. Morgan and Nick are going to stay there, and the other's going to go get the winch to pull the thing out, right? They're tied up. Lucy and Alicia and Strand are tied up on the ground. And when they go to cut the bonds, they reach down to cut them, but Strand is like, and sticks his arm out like, here you go. Like, and it's just the most Strand thing ever. And I wonder who made that decision. Was it the director? Was it Coleman? Because
probably Coleman.
It was great. It's one of those little moments. I love where actors do things, or whoever, they do things that just make the character stand out. My number 2 is June kills Virginia. It was very cathartic for someone who
was way higher up.
That's good.
I was heartbroken after John. John and June are literally the reason I'm in this world. When John died, it was devastating. But Jenna told me to just... she told me believe in June, basically.
Which is where we got our hashtag.
It sparked a movement.
It did. I was ecstatic when it happened. Do it, June. Also, I wanted June to kind of break bad. Just kind of be the bad guy. Be the Kim Wexler of this story. She didn't, of course. But anyway, I was like, yes, she's breaking bad. Remember the watch party, Rachel? It popped up in my memories the other day, a screenshot of all of us reacting to it. I remember you guys were like, Charity's smiling, so something good must happen in this episode, right? Because I was grinning the whole way through the rewatch. I was like... This was also the episode with the lineup, which Rachel encapsulated beautifully in her painting.
Which I now have to show. Great Charity. It is good, though.
It's my phone case now.
Oh, yeah. And you sold that original, too, right? During the charity auction?
I think one of these two ladies get it.
I won the original.
Oh.
Yeah. I got Elton.
Yeah. Favorite.
Yes.
No loss. Oof.
Oh, no. I was super happy about it.
All those paintings are still currently in my car. Halfway to the post office.
Wow. Well, don't bring them to the post office because you're going to see us in a month.
Yours,
have your mom.
Yes,
have your mom bring them down.
But there are others.
I could see it.
After being so heartbroken, it was something to lift me up as a June and John fan, and to see June be badass and walk out, just be like, "Peace out. I'll see you later. To hell with your all life is precious. Bye."
Excuse me? I feel like I'm being attacked right now.
She said, sit on it, Morgan. And
she
subsequently, Dave.
Still doesn't have the effect you think it does.
Sit on it.
What is the it?
What is it? He said, what is it?
Isn't that a song?
What? Yeah, Faith No More. I did funky motherfucker. That's, wait, I don't know if I can say that. And then it's it. What is it? Okay, so my number 1, Alaska. And first of all, I loved covering that episode beginning to end.
We're doing moments.
It was such...
This freaking guy in this freaking episode.
Jeez, sweet.
Who invited this dude?
You guys told me to come on. And so loving breaking down that episode with you guys, picking out all the cool little things along the way, and seeing this relationship develop between Dwight and Owl.
An owl, yeah.
An owl. I want to say another moment watching Morgan and Dwight talk at the pool. There was some really good dialogue there in one of the later episodes where they fake their death so that they can get away from
Ginny, yeah.
From Ginny. But then I want to go back to Alaska. And at the end of the episode, more than anything else, that whole end scene where Al and Isabel have that one little tiny conversation where she's desperately trying to get to her. Then the Cipro and all that. And there's just so much that comes out of that particular moment. And then, of course, you have that payoff at the end. Dwight and Sherry, they find each other. But it's knowing that had they not done all of that, they may not have reunited too. One lover's loss is another one's gain. That's why I brought up the whole episode, because it leads into why that moment with Al and Isabel, whom I even argued, if that wasn't Isabel, it didn't really sound like her, but it was her. Okay. I conceded finally a few years later.
I love the Cipro callback to season 4, which we talked about in the podcast. But
you weren't on the podcast at the time.
It's 4/12 week, which was directed by Coleman Domingo. It's when Al and June are on their own after the hurricane, and they are trying to get back to Morgan's group. They run out of fuel, and a guy steals Swati. His name is Quinn.
The June doppelganger-ish.
Al is sick, and so June goes to find Swati because Al tells her that there's antibiotics in there. And so she keeps asking this guy where the Cipro is. So later on, when they communicate again, he calls her Cipro, which that's a cute little tie back to it.
But I just love that moment because the callbacks, the little details, the license plate, the license. Oh, yeah, the one
in the
Fueler
box.
beer, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it all leads up to this moment. And then Alan Dwight being like this brother sister kind of thing. It's an episode where people just really come together, even though one of them is far apart. It's like, you're so close I can touch you, but I'm glad to know that you're out there. Most of my picks have to do with us and how I love being with you guys when we break these episodes down. It means a lot to me. So I can have a bias.
So sappy.
Well, I wasn't there for any of these.
For a robot.
Thanks.
That's what makes them stand out to you, Dave.
Yeah, really. It does. Personal connection. My
number one is many moments. Everything that Sarah says.
Okay, now we have to do a gun to your head moment, because if you had to pick one Sarah-ism, what would it be?
No, absolutely. So, okay, let me start here and then end there.
Yeah.
I love everything that Sarah says. She already did cover a lot of this when she talked about her last one, but Sarah not only brings comedy to the screen, but Mo herself is such an incredible actress that she can make us laugh and she can make us cry all in the same episode. And I appreciate her so much for being able to do that. I don't think anyone could have played this character as perfectly as Mo does. I'm going to kind of dogpile on what Sharon D already said. The way Mo delivers that line when she's got that gun to Raleigh's head, it wasn't just what she said, but how Mo said it that gave me the chills that I got watching that episode, and the emotion that it invokes while watching it. You can really tell that Sarah is the kind of person that masks a lot of pain with her humor. And I can definitely relate to that. She's funny because she hides a lot of her feelings. And in that moment, she wasn't hiding anything. She was letting it all out. She truly felt horrible for what she did to Clayton. And it was because she had wrong information, basically. She thought she was doing a thing and it ended up being wrong. And that is definitely a top moment for me. But also, in Barrier Next to Jasper's Leg, she says one word. It's going to get me right now. When her and Wendell are reunited and her and June and Luciana are in the back of that truck, and June is telling Sarah that she has plans for this hospital and this is what she told Ginny she wanted to do. And she said, and there's one other thing too. You know, basically she's like, Ginny had to return someone that should have been with us the whole time. And the van pulls up and the door opens up and the Wendell's sitting there and then Sarah's like, oh, and like, oh my God, just, it was just so perfectly, beautifully done. All she says is when. I mean, there's so much emotion. She's choked up as she's saying it, and she's excited, and she's sad. I mean, just 1,000 emotions all at once, and Mo captured it perfectly. I'm not going to say any more because I'm going to touch on this later in the week.
Bridget wants to go to bed, basically.
I mean, in real life, she loves Chill like a brother.
That excited to see Chill again. Yeah.
Which makes Breathe With Me such a powerful episode because she couldn't be reunited and she had to stand on her own.
What you were saying about anybody else playing her, I think it was when we had our interview with her, she was saying that when the producers and the showrunners called her in, they basically told her that they wanted her to be the character that she was in 40-Year-Old Virgin. Gina, this was kind of made for her. Not tailor-made, but this was made for her to play. I love Sarah.
I love Mo.
I love this show. I do.
Mo and Alex.
Yeah.
My number one is the opening scene to the very first episode.
Dang.
Go figure.
The title sequence? No, I'm kidding.
The sting. God. I have to say, I struggle with rewatching the first couple seasons simply because the sting is so
anxiety.
Loud. It's
9 Inch
so
Nails
loud.
produced.
Like you're just watching at a normal volume, and then all of a sudden it's like, wah! You're like, why?
But
This is
I was trying to watch a show.
What is this?
You know, they got fined for that because it was imitating a...
They got fined for a lot of things on this on these shows.
So somebody was doing like a radio show or something, and it was playing in the background, and it was so loud that it was mistaken for like they were worried
like
people
emergency
were gonna
broadcast,
mistake it for an emergency signal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So like by the government. essentially.
Interesting.
Or like warning sirens. We have warning sirens that go off in town.
By the way, I think that's why they sort of changed the tone of it. I think in later seasons, if not mistaken, it wasn't as jarring.
It's so jarring.
But then they finally got rid of it.
Anyway, that's not my favorite part. So,
anyway, sorry.
So,
talk about chew the screen, Jenny.
My favorite part is the opening sequence with Nick and Gloria. We come to find out later this is a bad news girlfriend that Nick has, who is also a drug addict. They are in an abandoned church doing heroin. Nick falls asleep reading and wakes up and Glow is gone. And he goes downstairs and she is eating someone's face. It's awesome and it's disgusting and I loved every second of it. It was so unusual because you're like, oh, okay, like it started while he was passed out. Like, this is it. And he steps out and it's like nothing else has happened.
Right.
The world is just going on as normal and does for several days after that. I don't know. It's a really cool juxtaposition of like his entire world is turned upside down, but also he's like, maybe I'm just insane. That's a horror moment. That's why I'm like, yeah, that's for me.
This reminds me of when that K2 crocodile variation of weed was out there and people were eating bath salts that whole time. Yep. And it was after that. I know that fiasco happened after that, but just to have that soon after the premiere for Fear the Walking Dead, the series premiere, was kind of like haunting because it's so isolated. You have buildings where this is being done and you have dens and these isolated pockets of people eating other people's faces and stuff like in similar behavior. And so to kind of go back to that scene, it's kind of like, and then he runs out and everybody's like, who is this crazy person leaving this isolated world?
When I love that he refuses to tell anyone what he saw. Yeah. I just was going for a walk. When everyone's like,
what if it was like a drug interaction?
You were running away from something. What were you running away from? No. I was just going for a walk. He doesn't even want to talk about the fact that like this is someone he knew, and we don't really touch on that a ton in the show, which is disappointing to me because obviously he's got to work through that. But this was his girlfriend, and he woke up to find her eating someone's face. What the?
But he was also on a lot of drugs, so he could have been like, "Holy shit, I'm on a lot of drugs." It's really messing with my head.
Yeah. Well, this is how far I've gone down too.
They got a bad batch from Walter White is what happened.
Damn that you, Walter. Stuff. Good framing, Bridget. I like that the most.
Thanks.
My number one, we've been giving Dave all night about episodes, but
damn
I'm gonna cheat a little bit. My favorite moment is the entirety of Laura.
Of course it is. I knew it.
If I had to narrow it down and get into my head and narrow it down, it's the canoe scene.
Oh, okay.
And so
that was like the whole Ray of Sunshine thing. It doesn't take a whole day.
It's the canoe scene. I started watching this because I've found out Jenna Elfman was in it, and I've always liked her. So I didn't really want to watch like the whole show. I just wanted to watch her in it a little bit. So I looked up her character name on the show, and what I got was Laura. So I looked up the list of episodes, and there's an episode named Laura. So I like, let me watch this one first. So I start watching it, and I'm like, yeah. But then they get to the canoe scene, and the way they shoot it, and the colors, and it's just beautiful. It made me take notice. I've always said the cinematography on this show is fantastic. Whatever else you can say about it. Then they went to Bill's store, and I got really embroiled in the story more. But it was that first moment when they're in the canoe, the way they shoot the canoe coming across the screen, and it's the muted greens and the browns and the oranges and the way they're talking. It was just beautiful.
Visual storytelling, because it wasn't character centered as much. It was more visual storytelling surrounding them.
I was paying attention to the characters and like, oh, there's Jenna. That's awesome. This is cool. Oh, that scene where they're going under the bridge, the big trees growing out of the side, and it's almost like muted rainbow colors on the trees. And it's just beautiful, man. There's another scene later on that also grabbed me when I was watching the rest of the series. When John and Strand are stranded on the island, there's an overhead shot where they show Swati driving across the water. The twin wake behind it as it drives across the water is just beautiful. Like, what a beautiful shot they came up with. So super kudos to the cinematography team on Fear, because you guys knock it out of the park.
Adam Sushitsky.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every
Bernardo
time.
Trujillo.
In itself, Laura is a great episode, not just the cinematography, the bottle episode. You could just watch this episode as a movie. It's standalone.
Right? I feel like that needs
We
an
did
applause.
it.
Wait, that's all of them? Right. Wow.
We did it, guys.
Well, I mean, it took 2 hours, so
Right.
it took a long time.
Hey, guys, do you disagree with any of us? Do you? Well, do you agree? Well, listen, you could do it in the comments. You could do it online. But how about you do it at ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead? You could leave 5 stars in an eggplant. Tell us your top 7 best Fear moments, or episodes, or whatever the hell you want. Just tell us after every episode.
Moments.
Or episodes. But tell us after every episode.
Momentusodes.
Naomi Laura Junisodes. Morgason? Anyway, and if you really like what we're doing, if you want to be more involved in what we do, think about following us on either ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead. It costs nothing. It tells you when we plan on recording episodes for you to join us for free. It's the only way you're going to be able to join us, because we don't post our schedules on social media. But if you're inclined to want to support us, you can tip us at Ko-fi for 30 days of supported back content, or you can join a membership tier on either Patreon or Ko-fi for as little as $1, have Discord access, get the unedited episode recordings, and a whole host of other perks in the Ko-fi shop, as well as so much more. And Whispers and Survivors tiers get their shout outs at the end of these episodes always, as well as 50% off in the merch store, and the ability to join us in our Jackbox games. And for the Survivors tier, remember the top tier, the ability to join us in these episode breakdowns. So think about that one for a little while. I've been your host, David Cameo. We were joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Bird, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, and Bridget, ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we are looking forward to seeing you at the camp, but also seeing you in the next episode, because we love you.
We're
We
just
love these
looking forward to
moments.
going to bed.
Good night,
That's right.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.
And for the unedited people, you can watch them sleep.
That costs extra.
Okay, bye for real.